All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. We got Thursday night football, week number 5. Atlanta Falcons taking on the Tampa Bay Bucks. In today's video, I'm going to be diving into it, giving you my lean on the side. I'll give you my lean on the total, and then I have a few player props to send your way as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye on the pinned comment of this video. That is where all of my final plays will live. If you do want to fade me, all of those plays are going to be in the pinned comment. In terms of last week, we have yet another, we'll take the cha-ching, another profitable NFL week. That's 4 straight weeks. We are yet to lose money on the season so far. Knock on wood, we're probably jinxing the hell out of ourselves. But look at that. After Thursday night football, I thought, oh boy, here comes the dumpster fire week, right? We bounce back on Sunday, and we definitely bounce back on Monday and pick up a couple more units. So, yeah, I mean, hey, like I said even last week, right? I don't know how long this hot streak will last, but we're going to keep grinding. We're going to keep trying to put in the work, and you know what? Hope that this momentum continues. So, yeah, shout out to that. Hit that like button if you guys have been tailing, if you guys have been riding. Probably mad if you've been fading, but shout out to you guys and everyone that has subscribed and liked and commented so far this season. Really do appreciate it. But what do you say we dive into this game here? Again, we got the Falcons taking on the Bucks right now. We got the Falcons sitting at 1.5-point favorites at the time of recording. The total is sitting at 43.5. We'll start with the sort of Bucks side of things, and if you do like the Bucks, the away team, what you might like and why you might be betting them. And first and foremost, I don't think we can talk about the Bucks without acknowledging the pass offense. They've looked pretty damn good, 9th in terms of passing yards per game, but I think what I'm most impressed with is the passing in the red zone. I guess I should just say red zone play overall. They're scoring a touchdown on 60% of their red zone drives this season, which is absolutely crazy, and I do think that that's going to be a big deal here, seeing as that Atlanta is ranked 29th in red zone defensive efficiency, so not all that great. And even in terms of, I guess related to that, in terms of defensive efficiency in the red zone, the Bucks top 3 team in terms of, touchdowns allowed in the red zone. So I will say, I think the red zone's going to be a massive, massive factor here, and it looks like, at least from an offensive and defensive consideration here, the Bucks have the edge there. Atlanta's a decent red zone offense, but I just talked to you guys about it. Their defense in the red zone has not been all that tremendous this season. Another thing I think that we could see some advantage for the Bucks here, at least maybe an uptick in their game, is the ground game. Now, they've been very poor to start the season overall. Through 4 weeks, they're in the bottom third of the league in terms of rushing offensive DVOA, but Atlanta's run defense has struggled this year, and in games in where the Bucks have scored or rushed for, 100 or more yards between all of their backs, or just between all of their run game, they're 2-0 this season, and Atlanta is allowing over 140 yards per game on the ground. So if Irving can kind of assemble any sort of decency back there in the backfield, and the Bucks can kind of get the run game going, I think that this could be a really good controlling spot for them, and they can kind of establish the rhythm there. Now, I mentioned the Atlanta run defense being kind of poor. Their run offense is good. Don't let their rushing yards per game or their yards per carry or anything like that fool you, because those don't look all that sexy, right? But they're a top 10 ranked DVOA rushing offense here, and it's because they've gone through this gauntlet. So DVOA metrics are going to factor in the strength of your schedule and who you've played and who they've played, etc., etc. So this is a way better stat, and we are 4 weeks into the season. I think at 4 weeks, DVOA metrics can be trusted a little bit more, but, they're better long-term overall. But what I will say here is that this team, if you think about what they've had to do on the ground so far, okay, week 1, they go up against Pittsburgh, currently ranked the 3rd best DVOA run defense, right? Then they go up against Philly in week 2 and actually did their job. Bijan Robinson, 14 for 97. Algier, I think, tacked on over 50 of his own. So against a Swiss cheese defense, they go out there and actually run the ball well, right? And then they followed up against the Kansas City Chiefs, the 2nd best run-ranked DVOA team this season. And then they played New Orleans last year, the 8th best. So, yes, you might look at some of their numbers and metrics that are kind of front-facing and say this Atlanta run game and the backs haven't been all that great, but they've had a tough schedule. This Bucks team is only kind of middle of the pack in terms of run defense and everything like that. So I do think that Atlanta is going to want to rely on the run if they do want to win this game and if they want to control this game. I mentioned the run game for the Bucks. Kind of the same thing for Atlanta. I think whoever can establish that dominance on the ground has a way better chance of winning this game, even though we have Baker and Kirk, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Drake London. We have a bunch of sort of stud receivers in this game. I still think the run game, I would not sleep on that on either side, especially for Tampa Bay, because, Rachaad White and Irving, I do think are sleepable guys. Just don't do it in this one. What I will say here, though, in terms of that run game, like if Atlanta doesn't get it going, I don't know how good of a game Kirk Cousins will have. I'm not necessarily saying specifically, Tampa Bay's pass defense or anything like that. It's actually pretty decent, like top half of the league defensive ranked, right? But what I will say is they blitz more than any other team through 4 weeks. I think they're over like 53%. Kirk Cousins in the last 2 years, so the 8 games he played last year and then the 4 he's played this year, out of the 32 qualified quarterbacks in terms of games played and attempts, he's ranked 25th in terms of completion percentage against the blitz. Now, I will say that Tampa Bay's blitzing hasn't resulted in a lot of sacks or a lot of necessarily like QB hits or anything like that, but they do blitz, and facts are facts. Kirk Cousins in the last, year or so, year and a half, has not looked all that great against the blitz, so they could give him trouble. I do think it's going to come down to the run game if you are on Atlanta, which we can talk about some Atlanta run game props as well when we get to it. But kind of even speaking of the coverage or how the quarterback might play against the defensive scheme, what I will say, Atlanta plays more man than zone. Baker Mayfield has been dotting up man this year, and in fact, in the red zone, I think he's like 6-1 in terms of his TD to interception rate. He's 5 of 3 in terms of red zone attempts against man coverage. So Baker Mayfield has been dotting up man coverage in the red zone, which kind of ties it all in to what I said at first. I think the red zone is going to be huge here, and I guess I'm tipping my hand. I am going to lean towards the Bucs, either plus the 1.5 points or even a consideration on the money line here at plus 110. Make sure to keep an eye on the pinned comment because I'm leaning that way pretty heavily as of right now. I don't think that, I'm definitely not going to get to the Atlanta side of things, but we'll see if, we even end up rolling with a full unit or half unit on the Bucs money line / spread. So keep an eye on the pinned comment. I will say, I think this game, especially with the players that are involved in this game, may be more of like a player prop type of a game to wager on versus the spread and versus the total. Speaking of the total, I would lean towards the over. A lot of the numbers that I look at, especially with the mindset of the scheme is going to be on the ground and whatnot, makes me want to lean towards the under. But there's so many freaking playmakers on each of these teams. I'm just not comfortable rolling with an under there, especially when we've seen the offense kind of explode for the Bucs and the efficiency as of late. So I'll lean towards the over. But again, like I mentioned, I think I like a few player props a lot more than the spread side or the total side in this one. But keep an eye on the pinned comment to see if and what we do end up rolling with there. Now, I said player props. Before we do get into the player props, I wanted to give a big shout out to Sleeper. If you guys have not checked out Sleeper yet, the player prop app, you need to go do so. They have a Kirk Cousins free square right now. They've knocked his passing yards line down to 0.5. I mentioned he might struggle against the blitz, but he can get 1 yard. I'm pretty confident in that. So go ahead and check it out. If you don't know what Sleeper is, it is a player prop app in which you take more or less on their set projections. You put 2 or more into a slip. The more you win, the more you get paid out. And speaking of pay, 2 cool things that Sleeper does. First and foremost, you're going to get 100% of your first deposit matched. That's a no-brainer, right? Enough to go sign up there in general. You double your money. You put in $100, they'll give you another 100, 200 to play with. You can put in $25, they'll give you 25, 50 to play with. You get the math, right? But I think it's really cool in terms of payout is that Sleeper, each and every play that you throw into your slip dynamically changes the payout of your slip, and you can win up to 100 times your money over on Sleeper with a slip. So they don't just follow the fixed payout structure like a lot of other apps. I think it's really, really cool what they do there, and they offer way more lines and way more plays than any other apps out there because of those sort of dynamic payout odds and boosters and multipliers and whatnot. So go ahead and check out Sleeper, guys. If it's available in your state and location, go ahead and check it out. Sleeper, that link is in the pinned comment. It's also in the description. Go get that deposit match and a Kirk Cousins square. But let's talk some player props here. Like I mentioned, we'll start it off with one. I didn't really mention sort of the scheme or anything like that, but I talked about an H to H, the show that I do with Tassos. I'm looking at Chase McLaughlin here, over 6.5 kicking points. Realistically, I think that Tampa Bay could get into the red zone a lot, and whether they score a touchdown or settle for a field goal, this guy is going to be involved, right, with the extra point, and then obviously he's the kicker, the field goal. And Atlanta so far this season is allowing the most kicking points against, 32nd in the league, like I said, the most. And so far this year, he's averaging 7.75 kicking points with a median of 8.5, 13 week 1, 8 in week 2, 1 in week 3, but they only had 7 points, right? That was their kind of off game, and then he bounces back with 9 kicking points last week. Now, I didn't mind his field goals made or even like his extra points made because I think we could see 2 touchdowns at the very least in this game from Tampa Bay, but overall, just give me everything. I'm liking that over 1.5 right now. -120 on BetMGM, -123 on Caesars. And by the way, guys, I'm using Outlier. If you do want access to this tool, I'll also have a link for this in the pinned comment. 7 days free. It's an absolute no-brainer. After that, it's just under $20 per month, so you don't even get got with like a huge price after the trial. Go check it out, because what I like about this is, say MGM is where we want to place this, right? You can click it, we can scan it on our phone, or we could say, all right, continue in browser. It's going to open up and put that play into our slip. You don't even need to dig for it. You're literally just getting convenience. So check out Outlier, guys. That link in the pinned comment for 7 days free. But Chase McLaughlin here, the kicker of the Bucs, over 6.5 kicking points is what we're looking at here. So that's actually -135. We were looking at field goals made a second ago. Moving on, we'll stick on the Bucs here. I like the idea of Mike Evans getting some attention. Now, his receiving yards is definitely high at 64. He's hit the over just once this season, 61, 42, 17, 94 last week. But his receptions, he's actually gone here 5, then he dipped down a little bit, and then 8. And we've seen wide receiver ones do pretty good work against this Atlanta secondary. Pickens, Rashee Rice, Devonta Smith, and then Chris Olave, the 4 guys that they've sort of the wide receiver ones that have played against them, have had good games. They're allowing the 26th most receptions allowed in the league, and it gets even better when you look at it from a wide receiver specific, the 3rd most receptions allowed to wide receivers. That might be 4th most, right? 32, 31, 30, 29. 4th most. Still the same thing. I like Mike Evans here, over 4.5 receptions, -114 over on FanDuel right now. Same thing with Outlier. If we wanted to place this, scan it on our phone, or we can continue in browser, and it's going to throw it right into the slip, which is pretty damn cool. Now, our last one, I mentioned the running back play here for Atlanta, but the more and more I looked into it, I think that Bijan and Algier could kind of run decently, but, you know, both of them run, and his line's at 66.5. I really haven't liked that, especially based on just the volume that he's had. So if you look at this rush attempts, it's been right around 14, 16, and then drops to 7 last week. So what I actually like is kind of pivoting to here and looking at Tampa Bay's struggle against the running back position in terms of receiving. So 19th in sort of receiving yards overall, right? Running back, 2nd worst in the entire league in terms of preventing running backs from catching and running with the ball. And he's hit in 3 of the 4 games so far, came very close in this one. He's getting a decent amount of targets per game, 5, 5, 2, and 4. And what I like is he's actually reeling in 95% of the passes that are thrown to him. Yes, 5, 5, 2, and 4. He's only dropped 1 there, and it was against Philadelphia. So I like this spot for him. Yards after catch, 43. He's just doing really, really well here. Average yards per reception, 9.2. So if he goes out there and catches 3 balls, we could be looking at, you know, a decent spot here. Where's that? 27 yards if we're looking at, you know, 9. So I like Bijan Robinson over 24.5 in terms of receiving yards. His rushing plus receiving was something that I considered, but I just feel like his lines and numbers are just so pumped up there. So yeah, give me him on the receptions, on the receiving yards there. I don't think we have a receptions line out yet, but that might be something that we consider as well. So that's what I got for you guys. Make sure you go check out Sleeper. You can put all of these player props into your Sleeper slip if you want. That's what I said. They have all the lines available, kind of like a more normal sports book. Like, I love the fact that Sleeper does that, but that's going to be Chase McLaughlin over in kicking points, Mike Evans over in receptions, and then Bijan Robinson over in receiving yards. Keep an eye on the pinned comment to see what we end up rolling with. And like I said, from a side perspective, I like the Bucs either with the points or money line. And then the total, I lean slightly towards the over, even though a lot of numbers I looked at would scream in your face under, but I just can't do that with all of the weapons that it seems and the way that, you know, Tampa Bay has been scoring. So I'm going to lean towards the over there. But guys, that's going to wrap it up for me. If you've made it this far into the video, go ahead and comment 14. You made it pretty much 14 minutes into the video. You guys have been absolutely unreal in terms of supporting the channel and supporting the videos in the NFL season. We'll keep trying to bring good picks to you guys, but like I keep saying, at some point, you know, the next shoe's going to drop and we're going to have a negative week. I don't know how we've gone week 1, week 2, week 3, and week 4 just in the green here. That's not normal for someone that considers himself more of an average sports bettor than it may look, but overall, you know, win or loss, I've loved the support in all the sports that we do, but love the support so far in the NFL, and I really do appreciate it. So comment 14 if you made it this far in the video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.